Hi, it's Anne. Thanks for stopping by. It's time for the letter of the week, and this week the letter is O. We are outdoors. We are going to do a craft project that doesn't have to be done outdoors, but gee, it's really nice when we, you can hear that crow going overhead. It really is nice when we have a nice warm spring day and we can be outdoors. So I'm going to be coffee dyeing some paper. I have brought with me about a cup and a half of very strong, probably completely undrinkable coffee. I use the most inexpensive instant coffee that I can find. And because, you don't want to be using your good stuff when you're just coffee dyeing paper. And I brought out a tub. Let me see if I can pull back a little bit. It's bringing me in. I think that's about as far out as I'm going to be able to go. I'll try not to have the real glaring things too much in your face. I have some paper that I want to coffee dye, some plain paper, some printed paper, and I have some stencils because occasionally I like to use some stencils. I know I'm really shadowy here today, but we'll just see how this goes. I don't usually worry about the shadows when I'm just out here by myself, but today you're here with me. I've just taken off my jacket because it's a little bit warmer than I realized. The other thing that I have here is a little spray bottle that I put that same coffee solution in, because sometimes there's a few things that I like to do when I'm coffee dyeing paper where spray works really well. But let's just begin with putting our coffee. It's no longer hot, and I'm just going to put some of that in here. And because this is a plastic coated surface, I'm not worried about anything getting on there. So then you can see my coffee. And I'm just going to stack things up. I have a few book pages here, and when I do them in the house, when I do them in the house, I do these in a sink. I'm not going to worry about, I don't even know if you can see even any of this. Yeah, I'm just going to sort of stack these up. I think I'm going to actually stand here. Quickly dip those in. And I'm going to put the side that I didn't dip, I'm going to put that down because it's going to pick up that coffee that is on the surface below it. Here, maybe you can see that a little bit better. There we go. And when I first started doing these, I worried that stacking wet on wet with paper, that it was going to meld with each other and it was going to rip. It really doesn't. It really surprises me. I'm going to set the book pages aside. Another thing I usually bring with me when I'm coffee dyeing, and it's not that I'm worried about staining this plastic tablecloth, but when I have, because I'm not, but when I have coffee being splashed around, I like to have a piece of old light-colored bed sheet just to mop things up, and then I have a really nice piece of coffee-stained fabric when I'm done with the task. Little pieces of ledger paper. Again, just a quick dip. And there's lots of little bubbles and things you can see that are here. And that just adds to the visual interest. It'll dry in an interesting little pattern. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put just a plain sheet here. And then I'm going to bring out one of my, maybe I'll put another one that really soaked in there. And a little breeze comes through, so I usually do bring some sort of weights with me. These are my pattern weights that I bet I've had these for 30 years that I use for sewing. But they're handy for a little bit of outdoor work too. There we go. I'm gonna put down one of my stencils. And if I'm going to be doing a little bit of stencil dyeing, that's when I spray instead of dip. And again, we're just going to keep stacking here. This was a really thin, really inexpensive paper. In fact, the paper was so old that it wasn't even called copy paper. It's typing paper. Let me put some of the thicker pieces on there. And I just leave the stencils below to sort of dry in the stack. A piece of scratch paper. And we should get an image both above and below this stencil. There we go. Yeah, this typing paper is really thin, but we'll see how it does. Let's move into another piece of book page. I'll dip that in and have the dip side facing down that time. And then this is just scratch paper, so I don't worry about that other side picking up a lot of coffee does soak through. I just do it different every time in terms of what is going to be picking up the most coffee. I also, because I'm outdoors, went into my garden and picked out a few leaves. You've seen me do this before, like when I've been camping. Sometimes it's fun to paint on the leaves. This time I'm just going to spray around the leaf. Spray on the leaf as well. And got a couple thicknesses here. We'll see how that does. We don't know. Got a bunch of different kinds of paper. I can always use more coffee dye paper. Here's another fern. My ferns have just come out here in my garden, so I will be honest, I did gulp a little bit in my trimming of them today, because I love the ferns and I love seeing them out in the garden, but I wanted to have a few of them for this project today. There, you can see how that's kind of coming through. It's going to be interesting to see how it dries. And let's put another one of these lined papers. Put that like there, and here's my Solomon seal. Oh, I love this. I have many Solomon seal. Look at those beautiful little blossoms that sort of hang underneath there. But I'm going to be celebrating the leaves today. And some of these impressions might be better than others. But it's always that way, isn't it? There's something a little bit leafy coming through. Book page. Whoops, that wasn't supposed to be in there. I'm going to go back to dipping. It's going to pick up plenty of coffee on both sides. We are in the city. You can hear cars and trains and airplanes going by. Whoops, so sorry. I've been so thrilled with how folks have been enjoying the letter of the week. Both Christy and Julie have been doing projects. I'll link their wonderful videos below. They had fun interpretations of the letter P. Julie did pink and peach and punchinella, which was so fun. I have all kinds of things I didn't mean to have in my stack here. And Christy did pouches and poppies and prayer. She had a really interesting, very thought-provoking video. And just one that was just really, really inclusive and really kind. And not preachy, but wonderful. I really appreciate both Julie and Christy doing the, I have a few scraps here I just decided to toss in. And let me do just one other thing. I have this little notebook. I thought maybe I would just see how this would dye with the paper still in the notebook. So we'll see. I'm just going to kind of open this up and dab it in there. Every sheet is not going to get saturated, but there's going to be some. This might totally ruin it. I don't know. But it was something that I had sitting around. I thought, let's just see if we can dye it as it is. It's kind of wicking up some of that coffee. I think I'm not going to punish it any more than this. I think we're going to set this aside, and I am going to let all of this dry. I am going to go dig weeds because, believe me, I have a lot of weeds out in my garden. It's a beautiful day, and they're not going to pull themselves. So I'm going to let this sit for, maybe an hour or so, and we'll see how it dries. A lot of times I will take it inside to finish drying, but I think I'd like to really celebrate the outdoors today, and we'll see how this goes. So we'll see you after a while. Okay, let's see how this is doing. I've come around to the other side of the table because the shadow is really strong if I was standing over here. These first few book pages, it's an hour and a half later. I've gotten a lot of weeding done, and these are very nearly dry. So these came out nicely. These are a little bit more faint and still a little bit damp, but you can see they don't stick together at all. Those came out nicely. This little notebook, do you know what? I think it's going to be pretty good for coffee dyed paper. You can see, and this was the big experiment for me. I'd never done this before. I'd never taken a whole notebook and just sort of sopped it up. Obviously, it didn't go all the way up, but I'm really okay with that. That was certainly a really easy, that was an easy dye. I think I'm going to have some good collage paper out of this, and that was very easy to do. Let's take a look at how these little pieces are. These are pretty dry here on the top. Some of my weight so they don't, well, it's not that breezy today. Yeah, these came out nice. With this challenge, I wanted to, kind of push myself out of my comfort zone. And with this dyeing this whole book, that kind of represented that with me. But I hope maybe you are learning a few things, and maybe you can be inspired to do some outdoor dyeing as well. These are a little bit damp. I think I'm going to put them in a different stack so they can continue to dry. These are all pretty dry, but we're getting down into the stack a little bit more. Now, this is what I'm eager to to see. There's a little bit of the leaf pattern there, my Solomon seal. Yeah, not great. Not great on that. Let's keep going here. You can see a little bit of the fern there. It looks like a fish spine or something there. Now this fern might be better. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. This is called a deer fern. It's a native plant here in the Pacific Northwest. I think this is the deer fern. Yeah, that's the deer fern. Yeah, I like that. I've never really printed with that before, so that was a learning opportunity for me. And now let's get down to the stencils. Move these more out of the way so I can continue to spread the kind of mini stacks. There we go. I'd be curious to know how you coffee dye paper. Do you bake it? A lot of people bake theirs. I just can't abide the thought of having to stick around and, you know, worry about things burning in the stove. Yeah, we're getting some of that stencil. Oh, this turned out nice. Yeah, there we go. Okay, good. Well, that was a pretty good batch. What I'm going to do is to continue to weight this down in the smaller stacks and leave these out in the sun. They'll be dry as can be by the end of the afternoon. Now, little mark. See, I'm not going to bother to write them on. I'll write later on my big log. But let's go ahead and choose next week's letter. We've done O for outdoors. What is it going to be next week? Next week's letter of the week is going to be L. We'll give that a little thought. We'll see you soon, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.